Good evening, everyone who is on board tonight for the JROB Camp's live webcast. It is 6:56 here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and we are going to start right at 7 p.m. So just wanted to give you all a heads up that we will be starting here in almost exactly 3 minutes. Good evening and welcome to the J. Robinson Camp's live J. Robinson Intensive Camp Experience webcast. It is 7 p.m. On the dot here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Thanks a lot for taking the time to join us tonight to learn more about what to expect at our intensive camps. We are quite confident it is the best summer training camp option to impact your wrestler's physical and mental toughness. And being online tonight with us live, you will help you a ton to get ready for camp. My name's Sue, and I'm part of the camp leadership team, and I've been with the camp for about 15 years. So what we're going to do here, I'm just going to give you a little bit of a brief run through of what to expect tonight. We started doing these what to expect webcast about 5 or 6 years ago. It really helped give parents and wrestlers an idea of how to prepare for these camps because they are quite intense. And the more you can be prepared for them, the better experience and better chance of earning the I did it shirt and all that good stuff. So tonight we've got a between athletes and coaches and parents, and it's really our hope that after you hear firsthand from our camp leadership team that the questions you have about what to expect at camp will be answered. So the first thing you need to know is that there is a live online chat available throughout the entire webcast, and we've got 2 of our veteran staff and customer service personnel answering your questions. And what you need to do if you have a question is you can submit your question throughout the entire webcast by using the questions tab on your screen. So again, you use the questions tab. And what's really cool about this webcast too is at the end of the presentation, 2 of our camp leadership staff people, Garret and Jake, they'll take some of the most popular questions that we receive and discuss them at the end of the webcast. So make sure that you stay tuned in. We anticipate the presentation itself to last not even quite 30 minutes. And again, we'll leave plenty of time at the end for questions. And if for whatever reason you miss it, or you've got teammates coming who couldn't tune in, the webcast will also be available on demand on our website, which of course is jrobinsoncamps.com. Again, we really appreciate and thank you for choosing our camps. And just to kind of give you a little heads up of what's going to happen here tonight, the webcast will be divided into 4 parts. First off, we're going to have Garret Garness talk, and he is our managing director of J. Robinson Camps. He used to be our director of wrestling operations, and he was recently promoted to this leadership position and is super passionate about helping wrestlers excel and is just a great part of our organization. Garrett's going to provide a history of what the camp model is based on, followed with kind of a summary of what our training philosophy is all about and really what the core of our camps is which is called the J7. And Garrett's then going to give an overview of the intensive camp, including daily schedules, camp fundamentals, and what the most people ask about is the point system and how it impacts earning the legendary I Did It shirt. After that, we're going to transition over to Jake Kettler, which he is our brand new director of camp operations. I say brand new, but that's really not the case because he has been with camp as a counselor for, I think 7 years. So Jake's going to discuss camp logistics, such as check-in, camp on-site information, preparing for camp, and just important camp details. As one of the owners, we couldn't be more excited to have Jake lead our camp operations because, again, not only is he a veteran camp counselor who knows the camps inside and out, but he is also a 28-day intensive camp graduate himself. So boy, if you want to know how to get through it, he's going to be the one to help you. After that, we are going to go back to Garret, and he will cover some other things about camp expectations, and then we'll go into our live Q&A. So without further ado, I'm just going to talk for a little bit more here. Just to, obviously, if you're tuned in, you've got some knowledge about what we're all about, but just we couldn't be more proud of what we've done here, what J. Robinson has started, now going on the 41st year. We've got over 45,000 JROB grads, which is just amazing. Their accomplishments, both in wrestling and life, are just so remarkable. And during the 2018 state tournaments, JROB camp grads won 138 state titles in 42 states and 461 medals in 45 states. We get letters all the time. If you've got time, hop onto our testimonial page. It's just amazing to read about what camp, how it impacts wrestlers and how it impacts them their whole life. We've got Tom Ryan in here, and I'd like to give just a special shout out because he's just one of our favorite people. And Tom Ryan is the current head coach at Ohio State University, and he is a 2-time 28-day JROB camp graduate. They had a great tournament this year at the NCAA championships, and we feature on him that I encourage you to check out on our website under the 5 Decades video feature. Tom talks about his camp experience and how it impacted him as a wrestler and a coach. So then, just a little bit about our founder, Jay Robinson. There's just no other camps like these camps. Founder Jay Robinson's life experience as an Army Airborne Ranger, a 1972 Olympian, a businessman, and over 40 years coaching wrestling at the highest levels. Jay's dedication for guiding athletes stems from his passionate principle that wrestling teaches life lessons both on the mat and off. And, we all know as wrestlers, they're unlike any other athletes. They just have a grit that no other athlete has. And this camp, one thing Jay will encourage is that you can be in the top 10% of everything you do. And that's just something you're going to hear over and over at camp. So from here, I'm actually going to pass the mic over to Garret. And again, he is our managing director, and he's going to talk about, again, just kind of some of the history of camp, and bear with us as we pass the mic here. Sometimes it's a little rough, but I'll mute it here and send it over to Garret.
So it appears, just real quick, a quick little side note, we have some people on here saying that they are unable to hear us. If that is the case, if anyone can hear us right now, can you please tap it or type in the chat feature and let us know that you can hear us? I apologize for any technical difficulties here. Okay, awesome, appreciate it. For those of you that can't hear, hopefully we can get it situated, but all right, fantastic. So moving on, apologize for the delay there. Going into our common questions that we get is why are your camps so long? And it's basically like anything in life. It's really hard to learn something in such a short amount of time, especially no matter what it is. Could be at work, it could be at school, and it's no different here at our camps and in wrestling. It takes time in order to learn a skill, and we're not in the business of just doing short camps to get in and get out. We really want to make sure that what we're teaching our campers stays with them for the long haul, and not just throughout their wrestling career, but really throughout their life as well. And that's one of the biggest things that we feel separates us from other camps as well. So that's the reason for being 10, 14, or 28-day camps at the intensive camps. We found the camps in general started out as only doing the 28-day camp, and then we added the 14-day camps, and then the 10-day camp. And what we found was 10 days is really the absolute shortest amount of time that it takes in order to actually learn the skills that we want the campers to learn. So another thing as well is just like during a wrestling season, it's a very long season. The campers have to overcome a lot of physical and mental fatigue as well, and that's one thing that's very specific to the sport of wrestling is how mentally draining it can be. And we truly believe that overcoming these challenges is a skill that can be learned, and it's not something that you're just born with. And that's what we're here to teach. Is we're here to teach you how to overcome physical and mental fatigue. And we want the campers to learn that they can do things that they didn't even believe were possible, and we do that through stress inoculation training. There's tons of studies out there that show that you learn best when you're in stressful situations. It's kind of like cramming for a test the day before, but instead of cramming it into one day, we're going to cram it for 10 days straight, or 14 days straight, or 28 days straight, and that's truly how you learn. And we feel that throughout that length of time and putting through those stressful situations, you're really going to learn, and it's going to stay with you. And so everything we do is actually revolves around what we call the J7, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. But basically, it's discipline, dedication, sacrifice, hard work, responsibility, accountability, and service. And all these things combined, we truly believe that it's a life-changing experience once you go through each one of these intensive camps. So starting with the J7, it's a philosophy that really started with the first couple. It began as just 3 or 4 words. The first 4 that you see there, hard work. And then over time, we believed that we needed to add responsibility and accountability to that as well, because in order to in in order to really take off and get the most out of yourself, you have to be personally responsible and you have to hold yourself accountable as well. So after a few years, we added those 2, and then a couple years ago, we added the last one, which is service. And really, the first 6 words of the J7 revolve around you and making you a better person. But we believe that you have to give back, not just to the sport of wrestling, but really to the community as a whole. And that's where that seventh the 7th characteristic comes into play. We want to show both the wrestling community and really the world that wrestlers are great, and we want to give back as well. So the first one there, discipline, it's about doing what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it. And you need to be able to pick yourself up and do things that you don't want to do in order to improve yourself. And then dedication just talks about persevering in the face of adversity. Sacrifice talks about you do what it takes to succeed no matter what, and you don't give up. Hard work is you have to commit to your goal, but know that you can always work harder in order to accomplish those goals. Responsibility is accepting that each decision you make in life has an effect on your own life or others' lives. Accountability is accepting consequences and understanding that you are responsible for your success or failure. There's no one else that is responsible except for yourself. And then service, obviously, is giving back to others. Next up is our daily schedule. So as you see on the screen right now, that is what an average day looks like at an intensive camp. So at 6:30 in the morning, they're going to wake up. A lot of people ask, well, why do you do early wake ups? It goes back to the stress inoculation training that we talked about. It's hard to get up. It's not something that you want to do, but you have to make those sacrifices and be disciplined in your training in order to overcome what you want to do. There's a very common saying that we say, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So if you every day you wake up at 10 o'clock and you didn't reach your goal of becoming a state champion or a state place winner, well, then something needs to change. So that's why we get up early in the morning. So they do their first run or lift at about 6:45 a.m. They'll come back after that run, which takes anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour. They'll come back and they'll go to breakfast. At about 10 o'clock, they'll come to a technique session. And we'll get into some of the ins and outs and the fundamentals of the way we train. But technique-wise, that lasts roughly about 2 hours until noon. Then after that, they'll go to lunch. And then usually after lunch, a lot of times the campers rest, stay in the dorms, do whatever they need to do to prepare for the hard practice. And that's really what we're known for, is our hard practice sessions, where there's a lot of live drilling, live wrestling, hard conditioning, and other things. So that will also last anywhere between an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on the day. After that, they'll go to dinner. And then you can see after dinner, there's plenty of other things that keep them busy as well. So we have mandatory mental attitude trainings that campers have to go to, where we'll talk about a lot of different things. Visualization. We have seminars based on, leadership, overcoming adversity, hard work, mental toughness. There's a lot of different topics that we'll cover in those sessions. And then one of our camp staff members will give a motivational session, just describing their wrestling career and some things that they had to overcome, because each kid is unique and has to overcome different obstacles in their life and in wrestling. And so we give a wide variety of stories based on that as well. And then lastly, we finish up the night with about an hour and a half session that includes reviewing the day's technique or doing another run or lift, depending on what running group you're in. And then finally, there's a lights out is at 11 o'clock, and we have room checks during that time as well. And then they wake up the next day and do it all over again. So next, just getting into the camp fundamentals, just based on some of the things that we teach. In our technique practices, they're exactly that. We're just doing technique. There's not a lot of live wrestling. That's when we really slow things down. We want to make sure that each camper is getting the most technically out of the camp as possible. Everyone comes in with different skills. So we teach anything from the basics, stance, motion, stand-ups, penetration steps, that kind of stuff. And then we get into really advanced techniques as well, different finishes and that kind of stuff, just to name a few. In the hard practices, that's when we're doing a lot of hard drilling and live wrestling. Again, the hard practices are really what we're known for. That's when you can really you really push yourself, and our staff does a phenomenal job of making sure that the campers are getting the most out of the hard practices and not just going through the motions. Lastly, the wrestling and running groups. On the very first day of camps, the campers are put into wrestling groups and a running group. The wrestling groups are all based on their weight. It's not based on experience. It's all based on weight. So when they go through the check-in process, they will get their weight taken, and that will determine what group they're put into. Depending on the camp, there might be three wrestling groups, 4 wrestling groups, or 5 wrestling groups. And then the running groups are determined based on that first run that they do on the very first day of camp. They do a timed 1.5 miles, and then they're put into running group number 1 would be the fastest, all the way down to could be running group number 10, which is the group of the slowest runners. We want each group to be with other campers that run a similar pace as them, because it gives them an opportunity to really push each other and be in a pack. Next, we'll go into athletic training and injury care. So we have on-site athletic trainers that we hire ourselves. And so basically, they're certified athletic trainers. We also do have some student athletic trainers as well, but they're our own staff, and they do a phenomenal job. There's actually a number in your confirmation packet. If you need to contact an athletic trainer, call that number. Again, it's in your confirmation packet, so please be sure to look at that. And then also, they'll be sure to contact you also whenever there might be an injury that were to occur also. We monitor their weights, and that's more just for safety precautions. So again, that weight that they take on their first day during check-in is going to be their baseline weight, and the wrestlers are not allowed to lose more than 1.5% of their body weight, and that's really just the biggest way for us to be able to monitor their hydration levels, because chances are if you're losing a lot of weight within a short amount of time, it's water weight, and we don't want that to happen. So we do monitor their weight throughout the camp. They'll be weighing in basically every single day, and there's check scales available as well. And it'll be on the schedule as well, so that campers know when it's coming, so they have plenty of time to rehydrate, but they should always be drinking water throughout the entirety of the camp. That's why we give them a water bottle. And then also we have daily skin checks as well, because no one really likes to talk about it, but skin diseases do come up in wrestling, and it's unfortunate, but it's just part of the sport. And so we want to monitor that as much as possible, and then hold out the wrestlers that might have something. So we take that very seriously as well. Developing your own personal philosophy is really big for us. So the campers get a workbook, and they're given workbook assignments throughout the entirety of the camp. And everyone is always telling the campers, well, you should be this or you should be that. We want the campers to decide for themselves. We want the campers to choose on the very first day of camp, they have to come up with a list of words that they want to be known as. It could be RJ7, or it could be, anything that they decide to choose. In any way, so it's basically just a way for the campers to really sit down and think, what do I want to be known for in life? And so we make sure that the campers do those exercises, all those workbook exercises, to be a well-rounded person as well, which is why we also give daily seminars focused on leadership, overcoming adversity, hard work, and many other topics as well. So the legendary I Did It shirt, a lot of times we get this question as well. What exactly is the shirt? Basically, we've been giving these shirts to campers that have earned it all the way back to our very first camp in 1978. It's a statement of achievement, and it really all started and is based off of Army Ranger School. When you graduate from the Army Ranger School and you graduate with honors, you receive a shirt. So the I Did It shirt is based off that premise, being able to earn it. As you can see there, it's never given. You have to earn it. You have to have enough points at the end of camp in order to receive the shirt. Everyone that makes it to the end of camp does graduate, but in order to graduate with the shirt, you're essentially graduating with honors. And that's why a lot of kids that you'll come through, it's really the goal to get that shirt, but it's also not just the goal to get the shirt, but it signifies where you want to be and where you're going after camp as well. Some of the highlights of the intensive camp, there's a list of them here on your screen, but red flag days are basically every Friday. It's really just a big practice that it kind of breaks up the normal flow of a practice, but they're put into separate groups where they do a lot of live wrestling, and then they'll go to another group where they'll do some hard drilling, and then go to another group where they'll do some conditioning. It's really meant to really push the campers. It's a shorter practice, but I'm sure it feels like a very long practice considering how hard it is. So that's one of the big things. A lot of parents will come to that as well. We also have black hat winners, and that's actually the picture you see there on the screen. But black hat winners are the campers in each wrestling group that have the highest points at the end of camp. So the black hat is awarded to them. And again, that's something that Jay developed going all the way back to Army Ranger School. At the end of the 10, 14, or 28 day camp, the campers have a choice of either choosing to run 9, 12, or 15 miles. The 15 mile is only an option at the 28 day camp, but we leave it up to the campers. It's their choice to decide what they want to do. Really, the entire camp kind of builds up to this moment. And again, we want the wrestlers to choose how hard they want to work. And so that's what this is all meant to do. It would be very easy for us to say, you have to run 12 miles or you have to run 15 miles, but we don't want to be the ones having to tell them. It's their choice. And we see a wide number of campers. Some choose 9, some choose 12, and some choose 15. Again, I think I already kind of mentioned it, but the personal philosophy development, that's really big for us, just making sure that, again, we're not telling them what they should be. They have to decide what they want to be. We also go through a goal setting plan. Throughout the camp, the campers have to choose or have to decide what their goals are. So they have to pick some 1-year goals, 3-year goals, 5-year goals, 10-year goals, and then just 50 goals in general. And then we take it a step further as well. Why do you want to become a state champion, or why do you want to wrestle in college? Or they have to write paragraphs as to why they want to achieve each of their goals, and then they have to make a plan of how they're going to achieve them. Graduation, just kind of skipping down over a few of these. Graduation is on the very last day of camp, or excuse me, on the second to last day of camp. Every camper that makes it through the camp does graduate, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to get the I did it shirt. After the technique practice is when graduation occurs. So again, it'll be roughly 11:30, 12 o'clock on the second to last day of each camp. There is another brief ceremony as well after the hard practice, after the red flag day, where they will go through and give the black hats and everything. So if you are planning on attending, speaking to parents here, if you are planning on attending and coming to watch the camp, be sure to attend that second to last day, because it's a very popular day for parents to come and witness what the campers have been going throughout the entirety of camp. So the next slide here, you'll see what the intensive camp schedule looks like. Again, I'm sure a lot of you have already registered. If you haven't, go ahead and look at the different camps that we have available for the intensive camps. We have a 10-day option in Iowa. We have a 14-day option in Pennsylvania, a 28-day option in Wisconsin, and another 14-day option in Oregon. Just biggest thing to notice here is if you are traveling to these sites, go online, look at our website. It tells you exactly what airports we would like them to fly into, so that we can shuttle them back and forth to and from the airport. So that's an option as well. And then next, I'd like to introduce Jake Kettler. So he has been with us for 7 years as an intensive camp counselor. He actually went to the 28-day camp himself way back in 2006. So he has a wealth of knowledge here with us and has been with us for a long time, and we're excited to bring him on full time and become the director of wrestling operations here with us. He's wrestled in college, was a 2-time NCAA qualifier, and also has a lot of experience in the international style of Greco-Roman. And so without further ado, I will pass it over to Jacob Kettler.
All right, thanks, Garrett. So kind of starting off, we're going to talk about the first day of camp and kind of the check-in process, how all of that goes. The first thing Garrett already touched on a little bit, he talked about the airport pickups. We do offer a shuttle service, and as he said, it's different for each camp. For example, for the Iowa camp, we shuttle people from the Minneapolis-St. Paul airport. With that, just make sure you have that selected on your online account. If you maybe missed that, you can always go back on and log on to your online account and check that in. And just make sure we have your flight information, things, which flight it is, what time it's landing, everything like that, so we can make sure we have your camper accounted for. Then kind of the check-in procedure, they're going to get a lot of your camp supplies, things like that, just things that you're going to have with you at all times, like your water bottle, your workbook, everything like that. You're going to get assigned your roommates, and you'll also get your items that you've ordered, things such as your workout shirts and shorts. We do recommend that you bring something that, in case there is an issue with getting your shirt and shorts, which very rarely happens, that you have something to work out in, because as Garrett had mentioned earlier, there will be a run that first night, and we'll split up into wrestling groups as well. So moving forward here, talking about some of the on-site camp information. As far as mailing goes, each site is going to be different, and again, this is all in your confirmation material. Each individual camp will have a different mailing address, but you are able to mail your son or daughter different packages and any kind of mail and everything like that. And this is all going to be in your confirmation packet, so please send the mail to those numbers. Don't send anything to our main camp office. And then we also, Garrett touched on this briefly also, but there's all of the phone numbers you'll need are in the confirmation packet. The staff duty number, that's going to be a different person every day, but that's the phone that's going to be on site in the hands of a counselor and that's going to be the quickest way to reach your camper. And if you have questions or concerns or some sort of emergency, we understand different things do come up. That's the number you'll reach them with. And we also have a trainer phone, and that's where if there's a health concern or something like that, you can reach that number, or if there is something going on at camp, they will contact you with there. And we have the camp store phone number, and that with that you able to add money into the camp store bucks, which is a service we provide in the camp store. I'll touch on a little bit later. And we also have our office phone number, but most camp-related issues, they will just forward you to the staff duty phone. So we also provide a laundry service at all of our camps, and that you pay for that through your deposit, and that you'll get back a cash deposit. The laundry service is for the workout gear, the shirt and shorts that they're going to be wrestling and running in. If they do have their kind of everyday casual clothes they want to wear, there are facilities available, and those are going to be either coin or card operated, that they'll be responsible to do themselves for that. We also provide food. There will be 3 all-you-can-eat meals a day in the cafeteria. If you do have any sort of allergies or dietary restrictions, something like that, we recommend you contact the school's dining services, and they have a lot more experience dealing with those types of things than we do. We'll do our best to let them know about them, but we found that the best way is contacting them directly to have them set that up, and you can give them your specific needs with that situation. We do allow visitors at camp. As Garrett mentioned, you're able to come watch various practices, and the graduation, we encourage you to come and watch those and just kind of experience what they do. One major rule is no campers are allowed in any vehicles. That is a safety precaution. We want to be able to have them under our supervision at all times and be aware of where they are. And even if you're just going to grab lunch or grab a quick bite to eat, it needs to be within walking distance. And just kind of finally, we do follow all traffic and pedestrian laws. Things such as jaywalking are strictly enforced, and again, that's a safety precaution. It's not for a punishment. It's just very important to us as well. So moving forward, we're going to talk about the camp store. There's several options for keeping money in the camp store. The first one is our camp bank. That is if you want to send actual cash or even a card or something like that for your camper to use, we will keep that secure in the camp store, and they will have access to that anytime that the camp store is open, which is 3 times daily during lunch, during dinner, and in the evening. They also, as I previously mentioned, we have camp store bucks, and what that is we keep basically a camp credit on record, and our camp store manager will, if they make a purchase using that credit, they'll subtract from that total, and that's one reason you may want to call the camp store phone to see what that total's at, or if you want to add money to their account, you can do that over the phone as well. So different things we have available for purchase in the camp store. Pretty much all day there's going to be snacks and beverages like Gatorades, things like that available. We have a lot of JROB workout gear and even just casual wear, a lot of really cool designs, things of that nature that the kids really like to wear. And then in the evening, we also have things like subs and pizza, nachos available for purchase. And all of those are able to be purchased either with camp store bucks or with the camp store bank. We recommend about $75 to $100 per week. Whether they want to purchase something from the camp store, maybe they have a little more time than they thought in the evening and want to run across the street to grab something to eat, whatever it may be. So those are all your different options in the camp store. So we want to talk about, kind of what you can and can't bring to camp. There's some of the things you can bring. We understand that Cell phones are a major part of society and communication today. So we do allow cell phones, your MP3 players, iPods, whatever you have, tablets, laptops. You can bring a TV, things like that. You can bring a scooter and rollerblades to all 4 camps. And in Wisconsin, you're able to bring a bike as well. The other 3 camps that are not at Wisconsin, it's a pretty short distance, and we found that just it's not really viable to have a bunch of the campers bring bikes to those. And just to touch on the cell phones also, one of our rules that we take very seriously is while you can use cell phones at camp, they're not allowed at practice and they are not allowed in the cafeteria. And there's various reasons for these, but these rules are strictly enforced. And we find that not only does it help with discipline and kind of disengaging from these things, but it makes the camp experience and relationships built through camp a lot better. And if you do have any, to touch on things you can't bring, air conditioners, toaster ovens, things of that nature. And obviously, alcohol and tobacco products are not allowed. All of the campers are going to be under 18 years old, and those are also not allowed on campuses as well. So if you have any questions about what you can bring, a really good place to go is on our website at www.jrobinsoncamps.com. And if you go to the parents tab, you'll be able to find the camp packing list, and that's a very thorough list of things to bring to camp. So moving forward, we're going to talk about kind of getting ready to go to camp. For a couple camps, or for our first camp, we're about 2 weeks away now, so it's getting pretty close. And one thing we strongly recommend is your conditioning. You should definitely be running and lifting leading into camp. This camp is going to change you both mentally and physically. It's going to get you in better shape, but in order to really, really get everything out of there, we strongly recommend you come in with a pretty good running and wrestling base, and as well as weightlifting. You should be running a few times a week, and on the mat 2 to 3 times a week is what we recommend. And just being prepared so you can get the most out of camp you can. As Garrett talked about, with wrestling, it's something that doesn't like to get talked about a lot, but skin issues are a part of that, and we strongly recommend a prescription to Valtrex, which is a herpes preventative. And what kind of the basis for that is we've had a doctor that has done several studies that have shown at our camp that this Valtrex prescription is great in not only containing the herpes virus, but also preventing it at camp. So that is a very important thing to us. We recommend about 12 sets of workout gear. The reason for this is you're going to have 4 workouts a day and with the laundry service every day, but we also require that you bring an extra clean shirt to each session. And in case something, again, this is very rarely happen, but in case something happens with the laundry, you are prepared and have that extra set or 2 of workout gear ready to go. Good running shoes are pretty important for camp. You don't want to add shin splints or painful feet on top of everything. And not only having a good pair of running shoes, but we also recommend you bring a backup pair. Some days it's going to be wet, it's going to be raining out, and we still work out. And you want to have another pair of shoes available in case that happens, or maybe you get a blowout in the shoe or something. We also recommend you put your camper's name on everything they bring with them, whether that's the tag of their shorts. Obviously, their name's going to be on back of all of their workout shirts, but just so we're able to have a little accountability if, say, something goes missing. There are going to be other camps at some of these locations going on at the same time as ours that are out of our jurisdiction, out of our control. And so just putting that name on everything you bring with just adds a little more security in that regard. And again, I know we've said it a lot, but definitely go review all of the recommendations and requirements in your confirmation materials. Really everything you need to know is going to be in there. So now we're gonna just talk about, we've talked about several of these things, but we'd really want to emphasize that safety is our #1 priority at camp. That is the reason for our daily weigh-ins. And with that, as Garrett mentioned, they can only lose 1.5% of their body weight. And if they do weigh in below that, they will be required to sit out for 24 hours. And at the end of that period, they're going to be responsible for not only getting their weight back up, but going and finding a trainer to weigh in at the next weigh-in and making sure that they're ready to go and being healthy and hydrated, because the majority of that weight loss is going to be through water weight. Again, I just touched on it, but the herpes prevention and daily skin checks, through the Valtrex prescription, and our daily skin checks are performed on both the campers and staff members, just making sure that everything is under control and everyone is clean and healthy. Our practice schedule, while we do have our pretty much set daily schedule, it can be adjusted every single day. If it's 110 degrees out, obviously practices are going to be a little different. They're going to be a little more challenging, so we're going to adjust for things like that. We're going to have peaks and valleys to both challenge and help recover, things like that. So we also have a staff to camper ratio of about 10-1 or better. And not only that, but we also have 5 to 7 full-time trainers staffed at all times. And among those trainers are going to be certified athletic trainers, so they're professionals and are prepared for this as well, and are going to be really, really thorough working with your son or daughter and keeping them safe and keeping, either something that could become an injury or in check, or rehabbing from a potential injury, and making sure your camper has as much time as possible on the mat if something were to happen. All of our counselors undergo thorough background checks, and they also complete a mandatory 2-day staff training program. That's a both structured and experiential learning environment, where there's going to be some classroom learning and some actual, putting them in scenarios that they're going to see at camp, so to have them be the most prepared and professional as possible. So with all that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it forward to Garrett.
All right, thank you, Jake. So just want to kind of back up a little bit here, and I'll make it fairly quick, as I'm sure, again, a lot of you have already registered. But you can log back into your account at any time. So when you're registered, you are actually also creating an account. And by using your confirmation number, you can log back into your account at any time and make payments as you go. So we would like payments to be paid in full 3 weeks before the camp start date. For Iowa, we are actually past that date already. So hopefully you've been paid. If not, please get in contact with us soon, and we can settle those up and make sure that your campers are able to participate. But for Pennsylvania, that 3-week deadline is coming up here pretty soon. And then obviously the 28-day camp and the camp in Oregon. We have a little bit more time, but please make sure to log into those accounts and get those payments made. You can also download all the forms, all the medical forms, and the Valtrex waiver and that kind of things, those kinds of things, through your confirmation materials as well. You should have gotten an email when you registered, and you can log on there and download all those medical forms to fill in and send to us. Also, one thing I want to point out about that is make sure that those medical forms do also need to be notarized. You can usually just go to your local bank, and they can notarize those forms. So please be sure to do that as well. All of the shirts and shorts that you can actually pre-order through us, and other gear as well. If you want to change your order, you'll have to make all those changes through us. So please make sure to do that. So if you've noticed that you can't change your gear orders, that's because that does have to be done through us. So just give us a call at our main office, and we can make sure to get that taken care of for you. And then, yeah, so that's all for that. We can move on. For the customer service, we do have a full-time customer service manager. Her name is Carson. She does a phenomenal job of responding to all your questions. So no matter how big or small your question is, just give us a call or send an email. Carson is here waiting to help answer all your needs. So we do have a 24-hour response time to all inquiries, so you can always be sure that we've gotten your messages, or gotten your emails, or gotten your calls. So if you haven't heard back from us within 24 hours, we might not have gotten the message or the email. So just give us a call again, or send us another email, and we'd like to help you out. That is during the camp season that the camp office phone is monitored 7 days a week. But again, as Jacob said earlier, most of the time throughout while your son or daughter is at camp, contact the staff duty phone. They'll be able to respond to your needs the fastest. So again, we have accessible on-site staff duty phone, training phone, and also camp store phone as well. A couple other things about social media. A lot of times we get questions regarding pictures of their camper while at camp. One of the best ways to follow the camp that your son or daughter is at is by following us on social media. We try to post as much as we can on Instagram and Facebook and on Twitter, just about how camp is going. A lot of different things. A lot of pictures are taken and posted up there. We obviously can't guarantee that you're for sure that every single camper is going to be posted online. It's just not possible with all the moving parts of camp and those sorts of things. But we do try to post on there as much as we can. So follow those links. Again, you can see them on your screen on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We have individual photos that are posted on there, just other daily workouts and things that they're doing. So it's a great option to follow. And then lastly, for parents, just a reminder, all practices are open. It does not only is our graduation ceremony available to come to, but if you want to come and you want to watch your son go through a lift in the morning at 6:30 a.m., be our guest. Come on down and watch him go through the workout, or whatever it is. It could be technique practice, could be hard practice, or the session at night. And then lastly, we just want to let you know that camp is going to be hard. The campers, they're going through a lot. They're teenage boys, a lot of them, and they're going through a lot. Sometimes we always say it's one of the hardest things that they'll probably do in their entire life leading up to college and things. So just encourage your campers to stick with it. Set the expectations that it's going to be hard. If they call in the first couple days that they want to come home, tell them to stick it out another day, and then another day, and another day, and then by the time you know it, the camp will be over, and they'll have learned so much. We hear it all the time. Campers, they regret themselves leaving, but we've never heard a camper stick it all the way out and regret that they stayed. So just continue to encourage them. Ask questions about what they've learned. Avoid some of those yes/no questions. Get them talking. Give them guidance on what they can do to get through the grind. Obviously, our staff is great at that as well, but sometimes they just need to hear it from parents as well. So that about it does it from there. So keep those questions coming in. We have a few questions and answers that I want to get to right off the bat here. And then also one other question that came up, and it's a mistake on our end, but it did say that there was a travel credit for the Oregon intensive camp. That was actually a mistake on our end. I'm sure Jay will take some points away from me on that, but that was actually a promotion for last year. So there is no airport travel credit this year for the Western Oregon intensive camp. But one of the questions we also got was, what can you expect in regards to the duration of the live and hard drilling sessions within the hard practice? So we mix it up quite a bit during the hard practices. They might do 15 minutes of hard drilling. Then they'll go to 15 minutes of 1 minute goes, and then they'll do a quick 5 to 10 minute review. And then they'll come back and they'll do a little bit of conditioning, and then they'll go into hard drilling again. We really mix it up. They're not going to be hard drilling for an hour and a half straight, or just live wrestling for an hour and a half straight. We give water breaks every 15 to 20 minutes, even less than that on really hot days. So we want to make sure that we are mixing it up, and it's that's how the campers stay focused and get the most out of practice as well. So a couple of questions we had just on the graduation and parent involvement. So just diving a little bit deeper into that. So the graduation, as I mentioned, all of the campers that make it through the end of camp graduate. So they'll get a certificate. They're called up to the front. They go through a line of all of our staff members and shake their hands and get a picture. So it's really just kind of a celebration, if you will, on the camper sticking it out, making it all the way through. But the I did it shirt is passed out on the last day after their final run that they do. Again, that's the 9, 12, or 15 miles. So that is really given out, again, if they have enough points at the end of camp. And at no point do the campers know how many points they have. It's kept a secret for a reason. The reason we do that is because we don't want a camper to know that they haven't lost any points at the end of camp, and then they can slack off the last couple days. That's not how it works here. What we do is we keep it a secret for a reason, so that no camper ever knows, well, geez, I can't afford to get another negative, or I need to get another positive. We want the campers working as hard as they can every single day at every single practice. So, and then parent involvement, just kind of diving a little bit deeper into that. Again, the campers will actually, on one of the first couple of days of camp, they'll write a letter home to the parents, just saying, what room number I'm in, who my roommate is. They'll write you a letter as to what other things that they might need, whether it's an extra pair of shoes or an extra pair of shirts or some shampoo or whatever it is. A lot of times, a letter might seem archaic, but it's really just an opportunity. Again, it's one of those skills that not a lot of youth in today's society really get, on how to actually write a letter, and we make sure that they do that. It's just those little things that don't seem like a lot, but they can go a long way. Other questions that we have. I know our typers are typing away as fast as they can on the chat feature, but keep sending those questions in. I will hand it over to Jake, and I think he's got.
Okay, so we're getting quite a few questions about the Valtrex. One thing with that, just to kind of go a little deeper into that, again, we recommend a preventative dose that's going to be about a pill a day, and that's going to help prevent that herpes virus from either breaking out or being contracted. And I know I mentioned earlier that we have a doctor that has performed a study on that, and that's something, if you wish to see a copy of that study, you can send us an email, and we can get you in touch with him and get a copy of that study sent to you, so you can kind of see the science behind that. And a lot of we've got some questions about the camp packing list. Again, that's going to be available online under the parents tab, but if you have specific questions about it, or maybe questions that might not be covered on there as to what type of shirts are better, or just things like that, or about different experiences they might have, and different things they might need, feel free to email us or give us a call here at the camp office leading into that, and we'll do our best to answer those questions. And through our various experiences over the past 41 years of camp, we've got quite a bit of knowledge built up that we can pass down and let you know if you have any questions about that. we've also been getting quite a few questions or kind of looking for clarification about the weight loss protocol. Again, it's 1.5% over camp of their weight that they're able to lose. And one thing with that is we would recommend not having a large lunch before check-in. That is going to be the first weigh in, and when their baseline weight is taken is during the check-in process. So we recommend maybe having a lighter lunch going into that, so your weight isn't, maybe a little inflated and makes the process a little more manageable. If you do, or your camper feels that they're unable to get back up to that weight, they can come talk to us, and we can make sure we find a way for them to make it work and be healthy in that scenario. And going on along with that as well, they will be aware every time that they are going to be having to make weight, and they're going to know what the weight is that they need to make. And we also have scales available both at the workout facility and in the dorm for them to check on at all times. So if we have any other major questions, otherwise our typers are gonna. Yep. So one question is if headphones are allowed during running. They are only run that the headphones are allowed to be used on would be the final run, the final marathon at the end of camp, the 9, 12, or 15. And there's various reasons for that. And again, one thing that we talk about quite a bit during camp is, they're not allowed to listen to music while they're running during these runs, but then they have the option of doing it on the very last run. And again, as Garrett mentioned, that's another situation where they make a choice. Are they going to choose to just go out and run and kind of have it natural, or are they going to have that, music to aid them and a crutch to use through that run? And we're not going to tell them what they have to do. It's up to them. It's their choice. But the short answer to that question is headphones and music are only allowed on the final run of camp. So, all right, well, I'm going to pass it back off to Garrett then.
All right, so I think we're kind of wrapping things up. I just want to say that we're super excited to have your wrestlers here at camp with us this summer. If there are any questions that we did not get to, or any questions that we failed to answer in detail enough for you, feel free to give us a call or send us an email at info@jrobinsoncamps.com. Give us a call. We'd love to help you out. I think we're going to go muted here just for a few, but we'll stay online for a few minutes to answer any further email questions. But again, we're excited to have you at camp this year, and make sure that you can rewatch this on our website as well. If there's anything that you want to refer back to in this webcast. So we're excited to have you this year, and look forward to having you.